Welcome to the historic town of Lunenburg, nestled in the heart of north-central Massachusetts. Settled in 1718, Lunenburg is now home to about 10,000 residents. While we are a small town, we still count on a dedicated team of professionals to keep us safe. Today we will explore the fire and EMS side of the station and hear from the brave first responders on duty.
Brave.
I would have to say caring.
Conscientious.
Hey, sending the red team in. Just some things to think about. You know, you got a lot of stuff going on, but listen up if somebody's calling you on the radio. Hi, my name is Patrick Sullivan. I'm the fire chief here in the town of Lunenburg, and welcome to the Lunenburg Public Safety Complex. We have 4 full-time, counting myself, and approximately 45 to 46 on-call firefighters. Out of the EMTs, approximately 35 of them are EMTs. I started when I was a junior in high school, when I was about 16 years old. Back then you could join at 16. I wanted to try something different, something that not everybody did, and I fell in love with it as soon as I started. From there I decided that I wanted to make this a career, so I went to school for it. I went to college up in New Hampshire. At the time, that was the nearest school that had a fire protection type program for an associate's degree. Went to school up there and then came back down here, and after a couple more years I got hired as a full-time firefighter with the town of Maynard, and I worked there for almost 24 years, you know, working up through the ranks as a firefighter and then a captain commanding a shift down there. And at the same time I was still a firefighter here as a call firefighter in town, and worked my way up through the ranks here, ultimately as deputy chief. And then when Chief Clenny retired in 2012, I came back from Maynard and took the chief's job here. I think that the biggest things across the state you see fire-wise is cooking incidents, cooking fires. They're very preventable, just being careful about not leaving pans unattended, being careful with flammables around the stove like long clothing, things like that, and just being cognizant of the hazards in the kitchen. On the other end of it, a lot of preventable accidents with motor vehicle accidents, people texting, just inattentive driving. We see a lot of that, and still people not wearing the seatbelts. See a lot of accidents that would be ones that people could have walked away from with very minor injuries, but because they weren't wearing a seatbelt, they had really serious injuries. How long it takes a crew to assemble for a fire depends on whether we're manned or not. Monday, actually now 7 days a week, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're manned with at least 2 firefighter EMTs in the station. Sometimes during the weekdays it's more than that. When we're manned, the first truck, whether it's an ambulance or a fire truck, is usually out of the station in about a minute and a half. When we're not manned, which means we have to put the call out over the radio, the firefighters have to come from home, come into the station, it's usually more like closer to 5 minutes. Average calls per day is about 4 calls per day. We're getting busier and busier, and those are ones, those don't count the inspections. Those are actually like calls for emergencies or to assist the public, things like that, problems with smoke detectors, but about 4 a day.
We're only going to be using the first floor. Anything that's boarded up, consider closed off. Anything that opens, you can open.
think my favorite feature of the safety complex is overall the whole building. It's such an improvement, and it's because it's not a new building, it's 12 years old now, but from the old station, just to have the room to be able to operate, to be able to bring the apparatus inside, to be able to clean them properly, store them properly, to have the room to be able to operate 24/7, which we found out back in 2008, we had the ice storm. For 2 weeks, we had 20 firefighters on average operating out of this building around the clock. The old building, we never would have been able to accomplish that. We just didn't have the room. And then to have the training facilities, the big training room, we can have up to 50 people in there to be able to conduct classes, train our people, train people from outside. I think the most pride is watching newer firefighters come into the job and progress. And having been here for over 30 years now, kind of remembering what it was like when I started. You see newer members come in, they're learning the job, taking pride in it, developing their skills, and you see them move along. I'm at the point now that I'm seeing guys that came in as rookies that now they're officers in the department, and that means a lot to see these guys come along and kind of follow behind, in what you did and become, come into their own right as firefighters. I think there's always a bond in the fire service. They always say when you join the fire service, you have a second family, and it's really like that. There's a lot of camaraderie amongst members of the fire service, that it shared experiences, especially in a career department where you're at the station for often 24 hours or more together. You eat, you sleep together. It becomes like a family. And a lot of people, they don't see the things that we see and experience the things that we, experience. So it's kind of a bond of shared experiences as well. To get their foot in the door in the fire service and begin the fire service, again, good education, high school diploma, move on, college degrees. You see much more new firefighters. They're going on, they're getting their associates or bachelors in fire science or related degrees, obtaining their EMT certification. Almost any job, if they want to be a full-time firefighter, EMT is a bare minimum for that. Also, a lot of people that are getting their start in the fire service, they'll join a volunteer department like us, and then a lot of them have gone on with the training that they've obtained through us, with the fire academy, their experience here, they've gone on to take jobs, in bigger departments, things like that. I know the guys that were here when I started, there's at least one other chief officer, another career firefighter that's a senior officer in New Hampshire. Another one is high-ranking member of the National Park Service now. Another one was a veteran paramedic who just retired recently. So a lot of guys have gone on to careers, fire, EMS, police, related services. We have guys that are fire protection engineers that started out here, are active in that part of the field now too. On the fire side, there's three engines, which they carry the water, the hose, usually going to put the fire out. One ladder truck, which carries a lot of the salvage and the rescue equipment. 2 brush trucks, 2 ambulances. The dive rescue truck carries all the water rescue equipment, and 3 support vehicles.
My name is Karen Weller. I am the Emergency Medical Services Coordinator for the Lunenburg Fire Department, and I've been with the department almost 11 years.
I'm Peter Hyatt. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Lunenburg Fire Department. I've been on the fire department since 1994.
I'm Andrew Duquette. I've been on the department for 3 years now.
My name's Ben Boudreau. I've been here probably 8 months, 9 months.
So I'm Charlie Colburn, firefighter EMT. I've been here since, I want to say, March, April-ish. Just finished the academy a few months ago.
I've been doing emergency medical services for over 20 years, and it's always fascinated me, and it's just something that I've always thought about doing.
I was always the kid that wanted to ride on the fire truck. I'm the big little kid on the fire department, and it's something I always wanted to do, and I've had the opportunity to do it.
I originally joined the fire department for the medical side. I wanted to become a doctor in high school, and so I was going to use this as some time with patients. And when I first got hired, I started riding on the fire engine, and it's the camaraderie and all the teamwork that I eventually saw. I figured out this is what I want to do, and this is how I can help people in a different way.
It's always been a lifetime goal. I've had a lot of family on Leominster Fire, so I've seen them doing that growing up, and it's just stuck with me.
I kind of didn't really think about it too much going through high school, but I ended up becoming friends with a few people in the department. They kind of got the idea back in my head, hung around a little bit, and decided to apply. Took about 8 to 10 months before I got hired, and during that time definitely developed the interest for it.
The overall design of the safety center with the training room, plenty of room on the apparatus floor for training and storage of equipment is the best part.
I like that the police and the fire department are all in one building. A lot of towns, police and fire don't get along because they're in two separate buildings.
Departments all over the place have a lot of communication issues. You'll have fire departments that try to block roads for safety for them, and there have been incidents where police have actually arrested fire chiefs and other firefighters because they won't move out of the road, but that's all they're doing is trying to protect it, and the police here get it, and it's great that we can work like that with them.
The most memorable, a big incident, I think, was the ice storm in 2008. That was probably the most catastrophic thing I remember in town in my lifetime that we were involved in. And, we learned a lot about emergency management through that. We've improved a lot of things since then, but just to be here working for almost 2 weeks straight, just dealing with the incidents that we had around town. We had a lot of fire incidents as people try to get power back, or were using wood stoves for the first time. So it was an event that I think everybody that was working here then is going to remember for a long time. I wanted to do something different that not just everybody would do. And then once I got into it, I've always enjoyed helping people. I enjoy the challenge. In the fire service, every time you go out on a call, it's always something different. You're always learning something new. And just to be able to go out and just enjoy the challenge of the job, because it's always something different. And being able to go out and help, make a difference in people's lives sometimes. Our number one concern, of course, is response to calls. We have apparatus maintenance. The guys go through every day, they're checking equipment. We have to make sure that all the apparatus is ready to go at a moment's notice, that all the, the small engines operate and run, all the tools are where they're supposed to be, so we're always checking the equipment. Very active with fire prevention. We have to go out and do inspections. Every time a home is sold, we have to check the smoke detectors, the carbon monoxide detectors. Captain Reese's on the road almost every day that he's working non-stop doing that. Plus we have to inspect new buildings, and that we train a lot. Again, a lot of this job is the repetition to the point that when you go to do something, you don't even think about it, you just do it. And that's where we're always training with that. We have a lot of new members, so they're here a lot of the time training on that too. We're answering questions from the public all the time. There isn't a day goes by that somebody isn't calling with a question about something, so we help with that. And then again, we go until about 6 o'clock at night, and then we're on call after that. So after that, and when an emergency comes in, the call goes out over the radio. It activates the individual firefighters and EMTs pagers, and then we respond back in and take whatever we need to take, whether it's the ambulance or the fire truck, and that depending on what the call is. Stimulate charging the line. I didn't want to flow water in there. Charge the line? Yeah, that's right, charge it. Everyone, go ahead and charge the line. Charging that line, they turn it on. Marlon Bassett, requesting ALS on the drill. Thank you for the top. We got inside. Hey, what? See if that's a command. Command. Fire alarm's calling you, Pete.
Fire alarm has that double 1930.
EMTs, emergency medical technicians, can do basic stuff. They can do oxygen, vital signs, basic splinting. Paramedics, on the other hand, are a higher level of care. They can do cardiac monitoring. They can give medications. EMTs can give some medications, but paramedics can start IVs and they can give more advanced medications.
When you're at the station, as a callman, you're usually here for a reason. You're here either for training, you're cleaning up from a call, putting stuff back in service, you're here getting familiar with the equipment, or covering during a storm or something like that. The career guys have more of the duties at the station.
If this was a full-time department, you'd come in, do your chores. Even here, we come in, see if there's dishes that need to be done. Then we check trucks, make sure that everything's on them, or they're all fueled up. Make sure everything's ready to go in case we get a call.
Being on the call side, you're going to come in at different hours. I haven't been here for a week at a time, but I've been here every day for a week. I've come in at 10 o'clock at night. I've been here early in the morning. There's a lot of steps, there's a lot of little stuff to do, but a lot of it is the mental, kind of getting over the not really a fear, but just kind of like the acceptance of this is what could happen, worst possible scenario.
You never know what you're going to see. And a lot of the times, what we actually get called for isn't what we find when we get on scene. So you always have to keep an open mind about what you're going to, because it's not always the same as what is dispatched.
Every day is different in a lot of ways, but you always are thinking about who's where in the department, who's around, do you have your radio with you, where's your gear? So in that aspect it's the same, but you never know what's going to happen.
Every day, you can say every day is the same, but I mean, you can never think it's going to be that way. The more everyone always says that when you say it's going to be one way, it's going to be the other. You might come in, you might do your truck checks 3 days in a row and not have one call, and then all of a sudden on the fourth day, you might not even get to do a truck check just because you're going back to back to back. So no, definitely every day is not the same.
Yeah. They always talk about fire service as being a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and it is. These are my family as much as my family is my family. They will do anything for you. You need anything, they'll help you. It's just it's family. It really is.
We go through an awful lot together as a group. You watch out for each other, each not just on the scene, but their mental well-being afterwards, and making sure everybody's in tune and doing well.
I came on, I knew no one, and now I feel like I've known them for a good while. We're friends, we hang out.
I grew up in Lunenburg, so it's giving back to my town. That's what I like, is it being able to be here and give back to the people I grew up with.
But sometimes, we'll receive cards and stuff, and seeing that and seeing them support us is great. I like giving back to the town for everything they do for us, and that's a give back.
I mean, you made a dream come true, pretty much. That's the biggest benefit, helping people again. Sounds corny, but that's why a lot of us do it. It's not for the money.
Kind of like the mental process, I guess, honestly, is to, say, am I able to do this? Wake up in the middle of the night, go to a fire, go into it.
Things get tough, but in the end, we don't get fires all the time, but when you do and you're running into a burning building, or someone's running in behind you, you have to think, you're protecting them and they're protecting you, and sometimes in the truck, they're talking about the family or you're talking about theirs, and you have to think of it in the way that you want them to go back to their family, just like you want to go back to yours. And sometimes it's those quiet moments that you're in a truck with someone else that you really start thinking about that, and how you can better yourself to get them home.
You could be picking someone up off the ground, helping them, other than without you, they'd be kind of stuck for a while, and for you it's like, well, that's one call out of 50, but for them, that's like the huge highlight of their week. So that definitely does have an impact. It's nice because if I'm here at Lunenburg, my family's in Shirley, something happens to them, I would hope that, whoever's on the Shirley Fire Department, they would have the same attitude to go and help them, because, for them, that's one call, but for my family, that would definitely mean the world to them, that someone came when they needed help.
I'm going to let a little air in. Go ahead and open that now. Watch that. Okay, see the neutral plane? See the neutral plane? Now I got fire coming into that space, don't I? I made the fire. What happened to the fire when he opened the door up? Opened the window up? It got bigger. Let him Right there, just like that. I think that's what I got.
Yeah, you just, no, I know.
Oh, there it is. You want to open up, go down, kid. Open up this one.
Oh, that's one of the heroes. That black smoke. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Did you get that?
Here's your eyebrows.
I knew that was going to happen. I was ready
Focus
for it.
fuel.
Now, the other thing that we didn't talk about, this compartment right here, this number 4, in this upstairs room, there's no vent from the downstairs or any other compartment. So basically, all that is just off-gassing from
the other room.
from the other rooms and the floor.
You can start seeing that.
It's lighting up that second.
Yeah, it's like, look in this second floor room right here.
We tried putting inside of
The base of it smoke out. Yeah. Oh, something the air. A bit ahead of underside. Oh, there it is. Still fires in there. It's impressive. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. No, it's opening itself up. Oh.
It's coming out the back, the bottom. That's the problem.
Oh, it's all over again.
The walls are all over.
Any poison, dude.
Again, I think
There goes another window.
you want to pull out engine 2.
And can you build one of those balloon frame constructions for Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back.
The wall, they didn't fall down, the wall just disappeared all of a sudden.
station one.
Propane tank. Oh, there we go. Oh, almost got another cruiser's on fire.
The thermal imaging camera, that can be used, that's a tool that we carry on all 3 of our full-size structure engines and the ladder truck. We have 4 of them in the department. Whenever you get off the truck at a call for an interior fire, the officer takes the thermal imaging camera. It can be used for search and rescue of civilians. It can be used for search and rescue of a firefighter down, and it can also be used for looking for the fire in a building. If it's in the walls, if it's extended into the walls, it saves a lot of opening up walls to see if the fire is extended. If it's not reading on the camera, then you don't have to open the wall.
All control.
thank you all for coming and visiting the Public Safety Building. Again, if you have any questions, we're always here. Feel free to stop by anytime.
The Lunenburg Safety Center combines bravery and expertise effortlessly. As residents of Lunenburg, we have a lot to be thankful for in terms of safety,